Okay, we'll go ahead and share the slides. We have a presentation for you all today, which Judy made. Yay, Judy.
Thank you. Couldn't have done it without Beth and Mark's help and endless support.
How do I do the full screen again?
Slideshow, the slideshow button.
Oh yeah, there we go. Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Another minute. In case anyone didn't hear, you can announce or introduce yourself in the chat. Say who you are, where you're from, and your interest in composting, sustainability, or organics.
Okay. Hofstra's in the house. Cool. Do we want to get started with our agenda?
So Beth, do you want to go through the agenda?
Okay, sure. Okay, so thanks everybody for joining today. We have quite a lot to cover, which is exciting. There's a lot happening with composting on Long Island. So we'll just start with some welcoming remarks and introductions. Like Judy is saying, if you'd like to introduce yourself in the chat, that's probably the most efficient way. And today we're going to spotlight Long Island's first food scrap drop-off site that we're working on with the Town of Riverhead, and we'll do some Q&A. We'll have some updates and a summary of the New York State Organic Summit that myself and Mark Haubner attended. And then we'd love to hear from all of you if there's any member updates, and just have some closing remarks and next steps in a next meeting.
Great. So in case anyone else joined in just now, you can introduce yourself and we can move on to the next slide.
Yes, always welcome to hear what people want to know more about for future topics. So we're the steering committee of the Long Island Organics Council. So Judy and Francesca are two sisters working together. Francesca's also an environmental studies major. And we just have Meghana Jane that just recently joined us. I don't think she's on today. And then our mission is to build a strong network from across Long Island committed to the sustainable management of non-edible organic materials through all scales of composting, anaerobic digestion, and the beneficial use of compost. And we seek to be a connecting organization. So Judy, you can take it from here.
So hello, my name is Judy. I am the co-director of the Long Island Organics Council. I've been passionate about composting since college at FIT. I actually started a pilot program for compost pickup at FIT, and I minored in ethics and sustainability and continued my passion since then over the last 5-6 years, and tried to find ways to get involved on Long Island until finally founding the Long Island Organics Council with Beth, as well as some other amazing women, some of which couldn't be involved anymore, but we have continued to find some amazing people to continue it with us. So without further ado, we can continue on to the presentation. All right. So who is involved in this project? So we are spotlighting our project going on in Riverhead. We have a pilot project for the first the first food scrap drop-off site on Long Island. We've partnered with the Town of Riverhead, along with several East End organizations, including the North Fork Environmental Council, the Greater Calverton Civic Association, and we also partnered with Green Inside and Out. And we are funded through a grant awarded by the New York State Pollution Prevention Institute, also known as P2I, which allowed us to start this amazing initiative on the East End, where Riverhead was the first municipality to be willing and able to start this on Long Island. Okay. One moment. I think we might have some people in here who shouldn't be here, so maybe maybe Beth, you can help me with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is our team, the Long Island Organic Council team, including, oh, go back up, thank you. The Long Island Organics team, myself, Francesca, and Beth are pictured here, along with the Riverhead team, with Talkie on the left. Then we have Mark on the right of Beth, Jason Blizzard, Drew Dillingham, and Claire Brazell, who is from Transition Town, Port Washington. She came along for this site visit in upstate New York at the Scarsdale food scrap drop-off site, which was our inspiration for this project. So here we're pictured getting more information on this site from the people in Scarsdale who founded this initiative. And it was really informative, and they gave us many resources to allow us to get today with our Riverhead pilot. So you can go to the next slide. Here we're holding some of the countertop composting bin, which is part of a kit that we'll be distributing when we launch our pilot. Then there's the smaller bin there. And ideally, people who are involved in our pilot, they will have this for their home. They'll buy compostable liners that are BPI certified by the Town of Riverhead. And once their bins are full, we'll bring them over to the compost site. We'll get more into Beth, please just help me with the muting everyone, just a little loud. So next, we also visited another composting drop-off site, food scrap drop-off site in upstate New York in the town of Greenburgh. So our team is there as well. And yeah, we can move on to the next slide. So what is this project? So we're launching the food scrap drop-off pilot program in Riverhead, New York. It will be the first food scrap drop-off site on Long Island, which is very exciting since a lot of us have been wanting something like this on Long Island for a long time, and we're kind of the underserved community of New York State, with upstate New York having a lot of urban areas where they do have the ability to compost, and then New York City being a pioneer in their composting pilot program. So it's really exciting that we can finally be launching this on Long Island. So at this site in Riverhead, the Town of Riverhead residents will be able to bring their food scraps to these bins where they will be composted. Maybe Beth or Mark, do you want to chime in on where they'll be composted and the next steps after that?
Yeah, the collection site we decided finally was going to be at the town yard waste facility, and we're changing the language on that as well. It's the yard trimmings facility, and this is not food waste, but food scraps. And changing the value set and the perception and the language and framing is one of the first things we're doing. Again, composting is a soil nutrient restoration, if you will. It's a regeneration, and we're looking to the long term on that as well. The drop off is up at the yard trimmings facility, which means we can take one of the green toters, one of the big light green buckets, barrels in the back there, the toters, and just roll them towards the leaf trimmings and so on, leaf and branch, and mix them in right there on site. We started out with 9 households and 3 restaurants back last August, and we pulled well over a ton of food scraps in just 90 days. So the impacts of this are just huge. 200 households times 2.5 people, you're talking about 45 tons of food waste in a year. And that's only 200 households out of 16,000 households in Riverhead. So if you could just kind of mentally picture 45 tons times another 15,800 households, it's a lot. It adds up.
Actually, that alone would save $300,000 for the municipality in tipping fees for if all 16,000 households participated, which is amazing. And I don't know why town municipalities have not been on this prior, but it will save so much money for municipalities, and it will just be beneficial overall for local soil, community participation, etc. So we can go to the next slide. So when and where is this happening? So our soft opening will be on May 12th, 2023. So in a month from now, we will also be holding a ribbon cutting with the Town of Riverhead, date still TBA. This will be at 532 Youngs Avenue in Calverton. It will be at the yard waste facility, which is by the e-waste drop-off. And the hours of operation will be Thursday to Monday from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. So it will be open on the weekends for people who cannot come at those hours on weekdays. So hopefully we will see a lot of participation, and it will be easy for residents who are participating.
Yep, it's really exciting. We're in the process of buying the bins, and there's all these considerations about what labels will go on it and all this exciting stuff, but we're working on it in the background. It'll be great.
Yeah, there's a lot of detail once you decide to do this thing. And I heard from the Institute for Local Self-Reliance webinar people today that this is what it turns out to be. It's a great idea. Hey, yeah, let's do this and let's run with it. And then, oh my God, what do the graphics have to look like? And how many of these do we need? And how much is that going to cost? Well, if he doesn't, it's a lot of detail. So if you're planning on doing this for your own municipality, get ready.
And we're happy to be here as a model too, to help.
Absolutely. And if you don't have this in your municipality and you want to see it in your municipality, let us know, and we are trying to work on other grant opportunities to get municipalities to do a similar composting initiative, whether it's a food scrap drop-off site, or even educating residents on how to do it in their own backyards. So why are we doing this? Besides the obvious of it being a very amazing thing to do for our communities and local soil and local farms, food scraps make up about 12 to 13% of Long Island's overall solid waste, and they make up to 30% of Long Island's household waste. So think of that. That's all being incinerated, trucked off of Long Island, disposed of, where it could actually be used regeneratively to nourish local soil, and then in turn be used to nourish our produce, local fruits and vegetables. So ideally keeping it closed loop cycle. It's also important because as New York State expands its mandates for residential composting, there's going to be a huge demand for food scrap pickup, drop-off locations, and other composting facilities on Long Island, which are very far and few between. especially because most composting facilities do not accept food scraps. They have a lot of, there are composting facilities that accept yard waste, but they haven't been open yet to accept food waste. So we need to start transitioning those to accept food waste and have more hubs overall on Long Island for ease of access. And most importantly, Long Island needed to start somewhere, and Riverhead decided to be the first town to pioneer this. So good on Riverhead. We're really excited to be partnering with them and looking forward to see how many people will be participating in this effort.
Yeah, let me throw something in there, Judy. It's
Yeah.
a team effort. It's a combination of the municipality itself being willing to get involved and knowing the value of this. I know when we started saying that we were going to reduce our solid waste tipping fees at if we could save 4 tons a day, it's $400 a day. You know, it's $36,000 a year, and that's just at the beginning of the program. And when you expand that and you turn into $150,000 or $200,000 a year, now people are paying attention. But it's not just taking things out of the waste stream. It's taking things out of the waste stream and reusing them to recycle. Technically, it's recycling, but the fact that we're still able to make some high best value out of these things that were actually just going to the incinerator right now. Everything that all of municipal solid waste on Long Island goes to 4 incinerators on Long Island. So this is much better.
Yeah. And Beth, can you go back to the when/where slide?
Oops. Yep.
Lena said, where will it be composted and how will that be distributed and to whom? So this is a good lead into our Q&A session. So as you can see on this little screenshot of the map, it's going to be at 532 Youngs Avenue, and it will be locally composted in the yard waste composting facility at the Town of Riverhead. So
Yeah, just adjacent to the drop-off site, actually. And that's been kind of a story in and of itself, because we had been working with to try to get maybe a farm to take the scraps, but that's been complicated and no one really sort of emerged as wanting to do that. So the town will be composting itself. And in terms of how it will be distributed and to whom, I think that's still to be determined. I don't know if we've even gotten that far in the process. It's been so much work just to get to this point. So we'll have to figure that out.
Yes. And we can exit out of the slides for a bit and have our Q&A. So let's see in the chat if anyone asked any questions thus far.
Yes, somebody was saying that they signed up. Deborah was saying, I contacted the town and was told I was put on the list for this program, but haven't heard back. So that's possible. It's just being set up as of right now. So there is a registration form that is being set up on the town's website.
Yeah, Deborah, I'll put my email into the chat line in case you don't get through, or just things aren't happening quickly enough for you. Let me know.
All right. Anyone else have questions? You can raise your hand or you can put it in the chat.
We've actually, I want to get back to talking about partners again. We've got a couple of people on the call right now that are from the civics, and the civics are the people who get the word out to our 36,000 people. Really, this is how we, besides the town doing public service announcements and so on, but having a face-to-face with 30 or 50 or 100 people to get these projects done is very different. It's a lot more personal. It's a lot more exciting, because when you get commitment from people face to face, it makes a difference for the people's commitment as well.
Lena, you have a question?
Didn't really have a question so much as I had. I mean, I'm so excited about what you're doing. It's just, I'm beyond excited, actually. I had much earlier interviewed Tony Romano in Hampton Bays when I was working on my website and thinking that we should do a composting website. for Long Island, basically. I was talking to this with Mary Morgan, who works a lot with Mark. And so we've had lots of conversations in that regard. He had done an extraordinary community composting sort of structure in Hampton Bays with ICI.
Hey, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, so yeah, I guess I was just going to say that I'm very eager for East Hampton to get involved in a program that allows them to both take food waste as a separate item from the other non-recyclables that they currently throw food waste into the bin together with, and find a way to compost it. This is something that they had done 20 years ago, actually, and then had stopped. And the reason they had stopped is that many people were contaminating that bin with glass and all kinds of other things that went into it along with the food. That got ground up and then ended up in compost as glass on somebody's lawn, and somebody's child stepped on the glass and it was a problem. So there's clearly an issue with contamination that has to be addressed, no matter who's doing it or how they're doing it. Obviously the state of California has just put a law into effect that started on January 1st, where every household gets something similar to that small bin that you had in one of your early photographs that goes on a counter, and it gets picked up every week, and it goes directly into a facility that either uses it to create biogas or uses it to create compost, which goes onto municipal grounds. They're not going to start fining people until January 1st next year, but everybody is really getting behind this. I was out there for 3 months and I was fascinated to see how incredibly effective it was working. It was a system whereby you could put all food scraps, not just vegetables, which is what I was sort of grown up on the idea of, but bones, dairy, meat, anything, fish, whatever it was, went into this food scrap container. And their purpose was to reduce the methane, because unlike Long Island, where we're now incinerating everything, their food waste was primarily going into landfill, and the methane that was coming out of that landfill is obviously a greenhouse gas that we can't have at this moment in our climate change world. So I just wanted to share a little bit about the California experience, and then also alert you to the fact that the New York Times did a fantastic piece this morning on what's going on in New York City as far as composting is concerned. And they are converting food waste now to biogas, and they're going to use it to heat buildings. I mean, it's really thrilling. So you guys are on to something. You got onto it probably a little bit ahead of everybody else, but that's always what entrepreneurs do. And you guys are doing exactly that. And you've got Mark involved with you, and he's really all over it. So he's a genius, I think. One of my local heroes. I'm just,
thank you.
Just hoping you get out further east, Mark.
I'm here for everybody. You know, that's part of the thing is, that we're sharing all of our talents. Between the towns, and whoever finds out what works and what doesn't and why, we're sharing that all the time. It's a different mindset. I was on the phone with 2 people from California this week, one from Folsom and another one from San Diego, and they were the recycling coordinators. I saw them on a newsletter or something, or a website, and I just emailed them. Next thing you know, we're on face-to-face meetings. We talked about SB 1381 or whatever their state bill is, that requires all their food scraps to be captured, to be diverted, recovered, and reused. What interesting, what I found out from these people this week was that when you legislate before you educate, it makes the job very difficult. So I think what we're, of course, doing is educating first, and eventually we will legislate, but at least everybody's not going to be surprised when the law shows up.
Yeah, well, that's genius, of course. And we know the same thing in East Hampton. The difficulty is getting the money for education. That's been complicated. I mean, we got a grant for recycling money for education on recycling, and we just got new signage that went up at the recycling center so that people will be more aware of what it is that they're throwing away, not to mention money for brochures which explain the whole purpose of food waste. We have to put an emphasis also on just reducing what we purchase, because 40% of the food waste in the United States, I mean, 40% of food is wasted in the United States, and a good bit of that, you know, comes from consumers. It's not just the farm, it's not just the grocery store, it's also what we buy and what we then throw away. So we have a lot of work to do. I just put some stuff on the chat, which is just some links to what's going on in California, and also the food waste page that's on my own website, which I think is fairly useful in terms of, I try to collect everything brilliant and upload it so that other people can have the opportunity to educate themselves to the degree they want to and in the time that they want to. So anyway, I offer you all that.
Thank you. And I see Cindy Clifford has her hand raised.
Wait, there we go. There, and here I am. I know that there's a little discussion about educating the public. My concern is that people who care about this really care about it, and people who don't care about it, it's very hard to pull them in. So I wonder, I think that's something that's going to have a lot of attention paid to it. What's the incentive for someone who isn't hands-on concerned about the environment? How do we suck them in? Also, in terms of a wider educational program throughout the town, I suppose there's, you know, public service announcements, and we can get Channel 22, which is the Riverhead Township channel, to run something. If we can produce some video, maybe some like animated stuff with voice. But my question, one of the questions is, and you know, I'm as concerned as everyone else here about the environment and about doing what I can to help. And I was telling Mark that the minute he started talking about food scraps, every time I put an eggshell in the garbage, I get like, oh my God, I should be doing something else with it. How do you make sure that this doesn't become a giant collective for like, okay, ants, everybody, the garbage is right here, or okay, other, you know, like life forms, come feed off this garbage until it's out of here, off somewhere else? Because that's going to be a hurdle for some people if they think that they're having these fresh scraps and, you know, it's there. I don't even know if you can answer that. I'm just kind of like, for the
So you're
future,
concerned about like vermin and critters getting into it?
Yes, vermin and critters and you know, little bugs, little winged things. I think that there has to be, that's got to be part of the conversation for people who are of a different mindset or just looking at it practically. I mean, I have ants now, and I don't even have my food scraps like in a container on my counter. So I think that's another thing that needs to be, you know, considered when we're looking at educating the public. I think it's great to give them statistics about the money that we'll save in tipping fees and about the percentage of food that won't be wasted, and you know, and how we'll save on recycling and reusing and composting. But I think it's got to go beyond that, again, to reach the people who are difficult to reach.
Yeah, so absolutely. So part of the grant that we got through Pollution Prevention Institute does provide funding for us as the Organics Council in partnership with the other groups involved, like the Civics and North Forth Organics, NFEC. We'll all be going out and hopefully doing some presentations like at schools and libraries and, you know, wherever we're invited. So if anyone has a civic group that they're part of, you can please ask them if we can be invited to come speak, and we'll explain to them about how to do the composting, what goes in it, what doesn't go in the bin. And I think like a few slides back, I'll go back. There were the pictures of us holding the bins, the smaller bins. So the one that Judy has is the one that would be available for sale through the town. We'll be ordering them soon. And, you know, ideally, the idea is you put your food scraps in there and it shouldn't be smelling. There's like aeration holes in it. But if it's attracting, you know, ants and stuff, I don't know, we'll have to just try to keep it cleaner. I mean, the bin locks on top. And then once you collect a small amount of it, it can go in the larger bin that Takwi has there. And then it can be put on the curbside, or, you know, eventually it'll be curbside, but you can take that to the food scraps facility. And I would suggest, you know, we'll probably tell people, you know, you might want to do it more like once a week so that it doesn't start to attract any sort of pests.
You know, what we found over time is that, especially in the summer, twice a week is probably the number. I remember New York City started this thing a while back and they were only picking up once a week. And their buckets were 26 gallons and it was awful. So, and I know we've talked with Town of Riverhead Engineering and Sanitation, and we've decided that probably twice a week is a little better. And we'll have to work through that. And then the winter time, you know, it could be once every 3 months because of the cold. Well, we didn't have cold weather this year, did we? Yeah, so we'll have to keep an eye on the weather. That may be something that a small company would adjust for their customers as time went on during the seasons.
Let me also ask, what is the expanded outreach to the restaurants? Because Mark, I know you said that 3 restaurants in Riverhead took part in the baby pilot program. How do you reach out? What's the plan to get in touch with those people? I mean, you know, I'm on board to help in any way I can in terms of that, like, you know, marketing and reaching out with people.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy, on that. I think part of this is going to be an easy target would be get the restaurants at downtown Riverhead. They're all within walking distance. Again, a central drop-off place for the middle of town would be one suggestion. To be able to collect from 5 restaurants within, you know, a couple of 100 feet of each other might be a good approach. And we've also worked with, and I didn't see this on the slide, but the Center for Ecotechnology.org up in Ithaca. I want to say they're in Ithaca, Rochester. Where, Beth? Do you remember where they are?
I don't remember. I just know it's upstate.
Yeah, and they're very active, and I found out they've got 90 people working for them as a nonprofit, and that they will do all of the marketing and contacting, and they're all over it. So I've got a volunteer for NFEC who is going to be going to the 3 hotels, and one of the, you know, like not TGI Fridays so much, because I found out from some of the other people on some of these calls that the national chains are very difficult to work with, just because of, you know, like Walmart, TGI Fridays are going to be going to regional or national headquarters to get things approved. But on the local hotels that are owned by people who live in the region, it's a lot easier. And this fellow is going to go around and do some recon for us and match up the soup kitchens and the food pantries, because part of the food scrap law that was started in January 2022 was that all of these large food scrap generators of 2 tons a week need to be donating as much food as possible first before going to compost or AD. So there are a lot of opportunities, Cindy, and if we want to talk about grabbing 5 restaurants on that strip, I think that would be another easy commercial pilot for us to start.
Yeah, maybe working with the bid on that, Mark.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Okay.
Great. So I think, does anyone else have any other questions? I know I saw McKenna asked about getting other people at her school to be informed of how to compost or the supplies. So
Yeah, we'll try to work with you on that. Maybe we can come up with a solution.
yeah.
We can certainly come and do a presentation at the school and do some more education about it, and maybe brainstorm as to ways that could be affordable to provide the kitchen top bins like we showed in the picture. And if
Yeah.
not those other ones, there's plenty of different types of bins, but those seem to be the best ones.
I see the ideas coming in from our young people. This is so refreshing. Beth and I were up at Syracuse at the NYSAR conference a couple of weeks ago, and the amount of young people there was just amazing. And not just young people, but young women. So in all of the New York City solid waste management people, it's just, I think that, of course, the diversity is starting to show as well. And it's very encouraging. So we're not doing this alone, nor are you. So please look to us for, again, for help and guidance at any time.
Get one.
Absolutely. And Erin, we can definitely do that at Stony Brook. Actually, one of our steering committee members, Francesca Greco, she is a senior at Stony Brook, and she's about to graduate, but she's definitely very involved on campus, and maybe we can arrange something like that before the end of the semester, or even in the upcoming year. I think that's definitely feasible. And I think, education and outreach are just the biggest thing with getting more people involved and in the know. I think the main problem is people don't know where to compost, what to do with compost, how to properly compost. I mean, even recycling is an issue for a lot of people, because every single town accepts different forms of recyclables. So, it's just getting people on the same page, showing them what their resources are, and, outreach. So that's what we're going to do with our project in Riverhead and through P2I. That's definitely one of our initiatives, is educational events and outreach events, and getting as many people as possible, to be involved.
Yeah, and I want to point out too, like, we've made the effort to put the signage in Spanish, and we've made a, educational flyer that will be in Spanish, and that will be hosted up on the town's website as well. So hopefully not just reaching English speakers, but some Spanish speakers as well. Doing our best.
Absolutely. Any other questions before we?
I'd like to add another question. I didn't raise my hand, but, oh wait, because I just forgot what it was. Oh, I know. With the March 12th date is going to be the town board, waving and holding up cans. When does is there going to be like a start date for the big marketing educational rollout? I mean, I know you're doing it incrementally and in smaller local levels, but in terms of, okay, hey, Riverhead, here's what's going on. Is there a date for that?
Probably around the same time, we'll be starting to kick off some outreach events. We're just starting to coordinate them now, like with the local library. We're putting together a press release, so I'm hoping that we'll get some press out of this, and that will get the discussions going. And like you said, I think someone said, we can hopefully get on the local Riverhead TV station.
Right. Yeah, that's the town hall has a channel 22 on cable. There's also an event, the Mosaic Street Painting Festival on May 28th. It's a Sunday. And for like $25, you could buy a square, and you could have someone do some chalk art to say, put your scraps in this can, and maybe have cans out. It doesn't get a huge amount of people, but it is a community event. And anything that you can show up at like that to publicize and tie into something that's kind of fun probably is a positive move, right? Even if you get 10 people to stop and ask you about it, it's a win, right?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So that's through East End Arts. And if you go to eastendarts.org, you can look up its annual Mosaic Street Painting Festival and get some information on it.
Nice. I'm writing that down. We did a brainstorming session, but we can't think of everything. So that's great. Thank you.
I know, nobody can. That's why we do collaborations, right?
Absolutely. So we can go on to our next part of the slides, where we give you all some updates of what we've been up to, and also what's happening locally on Long Island for Earth Day, as well as other events coming up. So Beth and Mark, you want to take it away to discuss the New York State Organic Summit?
Well, I'm still excited. Beth, go ahead.
Yeah, me too. It was a really great event. Mark and I were able to attend on April 3rd and 4th, and it was up in Syracuse. And as you can see from the pictures, it was a really full room with people involved in composting from all over New York State. So it was super inspiring. We got to see all kinds of neat products. There's Mark with his bins and compostable items. We met somebody from Bronx Compost. It was just a really, really great and inspiring event. And I have notes that I can share with anyone that wants them, but just a few highlights. As mentioned, we heard New York City will probably have curbside pickup by the end of next year. So they're way ahead of us. The US Composting Council has hired a federal lobbyist. I thought that was pretty interesting. So we'll be hearing more on the federal level. New York State DEC just released its solid waste management plan in March, and there's a open public comment period until May 15th. So if people wanted to make comments, they can do that, and we can probably, share more information after, like with a link and everything. We mentioned that the Center for Technology that's based upstate is offering technical assistance to municipalities that want to do composting. And we just heard so many inspiring things, like Tompkins County, which includes Ithaca, which is a pretty progressive place. They have a mobile truck to collect at different locations, like in Hudson Valley. There's a young woman that's started her own compost business, and she's picking up from like a bakery and a coffee shop, and even at the DMV, just going around like with her own vehicle, picking up and bringing it to the compost facility. And one of the cutest things I heard was the Buffalo Zoo actually created something called zoo poo. So they were taking the manure from the animals at the zoo and turning it into a compost that they're selling in their gift shop. And they put it like in cute containers and stuff, biodegradable, I presume. But it's nice because it's like they're actually making revenue for the zoo that way. There's a program that I heard about to actually have someone come to your home to turn your pile. So like if you want to have a compost pile, but you don't want to turn it, there's actually services to have somebody do that, which seems pretty posh, which is great, but some people need that. And it's great. It's like employing people. So I love the fact that it's creating jobs. One of the things we heard a lot about was PFAS. Unfortunately, perfluoroalkyl substances. They're the forever chemicals that don't break down in the environment. They're usually either, fire retardants, or they're even used in clothing to make the clothing water resistant. They're finding that in a lot of the compost. And some of the issue is, like, legally, if you test your compost and that you have PFAS in there, now is it our obligation to report it? But the problem is, PFAS is unfortunately kind of ubiquitous in the environment. So everyone's going to have a little compost, PFAS in their compost. So, it's like, where do we sort of draw the line as to how strict we're going to have to be about that? So that was an interesting issue. I think we're going to probably see more policy on that eventually. And I think that was pretty much it. It was just so great and fun. So I don't know if Mark, you wanted to add anything to that about like amazing people we met.
Yeah, I haven't given out business cards on Long Island for probably 3 years, and I went up there with a box, and I know I got rid of 35 of them. So we met a lot of people. And they also, if you notice that that older guy in the bottom right-hand corner here has got a tablet in front of him, and they had an application, an app that you could contact anybody in the conference.
Oh, yeah.
So exchanging business cards or getting a ride to the airport. So it got automated very quickly. It was very valuable to have all these tools at our disposal and to know who people were. The guy right above me in that picture was the Tompkins County guy. I've seen his names in articles. These are the people who were at these things. So I know the DEC was there. They're real people. Sally Rowland had five of her crew with her from the different regions around the state. They're scientists. They're young people. They're involved. They care. They're more than willing to help you get this thing off the ground. And that's the other thing too. They want all this done. And they're working at figuring out how to help us get this done. It's not just creating a bunch of regulations and standing back and giving out fines. That's not what they're about anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So definitely worth going next year if you can make it. And they said they'll make it closer to the city next year. It should be like in the Hudson area. So that'll be nicer for us.
And I think if you're really excited, there's a depackager in the top right of that picture. Isn't that what that is?
I think so. Mm-hmm.
So, and they're not expensive. Anybody wants to go in on a depackager, they're only 30 grand.
It would be cool to get some of this equipment and share it on Long Island among municipalities.
Yeah, like a tool sharing, tool library. Yeah.
Yep. So that's our update, and I'm happy to share our notes if anyone wants to know more.
Yeah.
So,
And
again,
next we have some upcoming events. So it is International Compost Awareness Week from May 7th to 13th. Next month, we'll have some online movie screenings that we'll be hosting. So keep an eye out for updates on that. Also, Grounds for Appeal, which is the only food scrap, the only composting facility on Long Island that accepts food scraps, run by Glenda Alvarado. She'll be hosting a site tour and have compost on sale. So we'll also be announcing when that will happen. And then we will, of course, launch our Riverhead drop-off site. And if there's any local events in your community that you'd like us to promote, unless we already know about it, of course, let us know and we can promote it. Or if you even want to start something in your community, because, you know, be the change you want to see in the world, let us know. Next slide. So Earth Day, there's actually a lot going on this weekend on Long Island, which is very lovely to see. Very, very hopeful. We have the Riverhead Anti-Litter Committee townwide cleanup on Saturday, April 22nd from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Then Blarg will be hosting a North Bellport Strong Day of Unity, which is a march beginning at 12 p.m. at the corner of Station Road and Montauk Highway, and it will proceed to Robert Rowley Park. So I will send it all in the newsletter as well if you are all subscribed to the newsletter. And if you're not, please do leave your email in the chat and we can add you. That way you won't miss out on any of these details and, you know, links with more information. Then there's the Earth Groove event in Oshawa Hall. I'm not sure if I'm not pronouncing that right. Saturday, April 22nd as well, from 1 to 5 p.m. At the same time, there is the Slow Food East End Earth Day celebration from 1 to 5 at St. Joseph Villa in Hampton Bays. Next slide. There's also the Town of Huntington Earth Day from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Manor Farm Park. Then on Sunday, the 23rd, at 10 a.m., Patchogue will be hosting Eco Fair. Then the following week on April 30th at 3 p.m., the Huntington Interfaith will be holding a movie screening at the Cinema Arts Center of Kiss the Ground. And that is one of the best documentaries, I would say, to get more educated on the importance of composting. It is so inspiring. There are a lot of celebrities in there as well that talk about it and endorse it basically, but it is very inspiring. It really just shows how crucial it is for all of us to get composting and, you know, reducing our footprint on the planet. So highly recommend to see that if you can, either at the screening in Huntington, or we will also most likely be hosting a screening online via Zoom for International Compost Awareness Week. So,
and we'll be there with the table, so come see us.
yes, yes, we will. And then finally, this is not one specific day, but Glenda at Grounds for Appeal will be selling her compost. So if you do need compost for your garden for spring, please do contact Glenda at groundsforappeal.com.
Yeah, she's located at Hobbs Farm in Center H.
Other updates, there are some grant opportunities, including the USDA Compost and Food Waste Reduction, which has up to $9.5 million for compost and food waste reduction pilot projects. So if you know of anyone who is looking to start a pilot project besides us in your community, definitely send this over to them, as well as a USDA local food promotion program grant. And that is awarding up to $61.8 million to fund local food promotion program projects. And I will be sending out the links for this in the newsletter as well. And then next slide. If you would like to volunteer with us, we are looking for volunteers, whether it's for this specific Riverhead pilot project, or even just in general for our organization to help us with any outreach or planning future meetings. We're looking for steering committee members as well. So let us know if you're interested. And lastly, next slide. Do you have any updates to share with us? If you do, please type in the comments, raise your hands. And if not, our next meeting is going to be in June. So stay tuned for updates on that and our Riverhead project, which we're very excited to launch. So.
Yeah, did anybody have any updates they want to share? Dieter, you must have a lot of good stuff going on.
No.
Okay.
Am I muted? No, I'm not.
No?
Oh, no, we are not really at the moment into this. We have got so many other projects. We just running out of steam.
Yeah.
So that's why we are taking it all in, taking our notes and knowing what it is. And Mark, no, you are around the moment we have a go. We know where to go.
Good. And Lena, I don't know if you had something.
I was just going to say that there's a sustainable landscaping webinar that's going to be tomorrow at 5 at the LTV facility between Bridgehampton and East Hampton. It's not focused on composting specifically, but it's dealing with everything relating to what we throw away and what we retain, and pesticides and, you know, sustainable landscaping altogether. So if anybody wants to take a look at that, just go to the LTV website and there's a Zoom. It's both in person and on Zoom, and it'll be available afterwards on YouTube. And I can send you the link once it's loaded up.
Oh, great! Thank you so much, Lena.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm thrilled with what you're doing. So any way I can be of help.
Oh, we totally appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, you need us old people, you know. Mark and I are beyond your age range, and we can just, sometimes we can throw you something valuable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like ideas on how to do all the work. I'm ready.
Dieter, I should have included you too. You belong to us.
So I just thought I could miss out on that one. I'm pretty sure that I'm the senior amongst all of you.
Well, we're not ageist. We take anybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone from anywhere and everywhere on Long Island.
Yes.
Okay, that's it.
All right. So I think
Thank
we're
you
all
very
set.
much. That was
Next meeting.
very, very interesting.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
all your work there, Judy and Beth.
Thank you. Thank you, Dieter. And thank you everyone for joining us and, you know, learning a little bit about a project. Please spread the word and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have the Long Island Organics Council Facebook page. You can look for our social media on there. And actually, I was going to invite some of the students that are on here to just stay on for a few minutes, and we'll have a conversation because we might be enlisting some young volunteers right now. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye.
All right, bye. Judy and I will stay on.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Oh, and we can stop recording now.
Yes, I'm going to stop recording. How do I do that again? Oh yeah, stop recording. Here we go.